Hello and welcome to my channel. Happy New Year. Tonight we're taking a look at Cyberverse Perceptor. Cyberverse has become what's probably my favourite Transformers cartoon to date now, and Perceptor is my favourite character from Cyberverse, so it's really great to finally have a physical representation of him. Taking a closer look, I'm really happy with how the head sculpt turned out. This time I've learned from Nix's project and printed his face a lighter grey instead of white. That way the sculpt comes through a lot better. I also made the tech detail on his eye patch a bit deeper, and if you look closely you can see that it does have the targeting grid pattern he has in MTMTE. For size comparison, here he is with Studio Series Hot Rod, who is deluxe sized, and he stands at around the same height as he does, so not too small for a deluxe. Going into articulation, his head is on a pin, so he can look left to right, although he can't look too far to his right as the scope is in the way. Looks up all the way, which is great for running poses, and looks down just a bit. His shoulder scope is articulated as well. It's on a peg in his shoulder so it can swivel, and there's two hinges along the connector piece which allows for a good range of up and down movement. Arms are on a swivel so it can go 360 degrees, shoulders go out almost 90 degrees, 90 degrees bend at the elbow, biceps rotation, bringing the arm back down. There is also a wrist rotation as well. A bit of a fun addition, I've also made his gears movable too. There's a swivel at the waist, kicks up 90 degrees, kicks back a lot. He can kick out 90 degrees as well. There is a bend at the knee. A swivel at the thigh, another swivel on his shins for transformation, up and down on the toe, and a swivel at the tip of his toes. So he does have quite a fair range of articulation, and with the blocky style of Cyberverse, he can pull off some really nice and dynamic poses. As for transformation, first we have to unplug his shoulder scope and put it to a side. Turn him around and open his back flap. In robot mode, there's a grey tab on the collar piece that slots into a slot on the back piece and it secures the head into place. There's a separate tab in alt mode that does the same thing later. Rotate the head section back. There's a short slider on the inside of the collar piece. Slide it up and that will give you enough clearance to tug the head in. Push the collar piece back along the slider and close the back up. Fold the arms backwards onto his back and rotate the biceps slightly so they lay nicer. Open the chest tray, which tabs in via the two tabs on the chest. Once that's done, kick the legs up and out. There's a peg on the back of his thigh which will softly tab into the back of the treads behind his shins. Flip his toe downwards, fold the heels up, and rotate the lower leg piece on the shin cut so the treads are laying on the bottom. Do the same for the other leg. Place him down, and now we take his microscope and we straighten it out. There's this little tab in between the connectors that needs to be flipped down. This locks the microscope at a 90 degrees upwards angle. Plug it into the port on what was the bottom of the collar piece, and there you have his microscope mode. As Perceptor didn't transform on the show, I don't think we've ever seen him in his alt mode, but it seems to be confirmed that he does turn into a microscope, which makes sense, he is Perceptor. For size comparison this time, here's Rung, who was a battle master back in the Siege line. I found out that Perceptor can sort of double as a battle platform or science research facility for smaller toys, and I thought that adds quite a fun aspect to the stationary alt mode. Like most Perceptors, he does have a tank mode, and to do that, flip his scope around, rotate the thighs so the front of the upper thigh faces upwards, rotate him at the thigh like so, and rotate the leg at the shin cut all the way around, again so the treads are at the bottom. A simple transformation between modes, but here we have the tank/rover mode. The reason I call this a rover mode is due to the size of the scope. While other Perceptors have overall cylindrical shaped scopes, Cyberverse Perceptor has a thin scope which makes it look more like a rover camera instead of a barrel of a tank. But I think this mode fits Perceptor quite well. He's scientific and he's Perceptor. In the Classics line, he did turn into a research vehicle, so it should make sense he turns into some sort of moon rover this time round. And again, Rung fits in this mode quite well. It makes it look like he's driving and aiming. Now, while I'm transforming him back into robot mode, I am going to give my overall thoughts on the figure. I really like the look of the Cyberverse proportions, makes the toys look very dynamic. Somehow, the assembly process was so smooth on this toy. I've now incorporated 0.3mm difference in the sizes between the peg and the peg holes, and most of the time it makes up for the shrinkage of parts during the process of 3D printing. I also added a 1.5mm pinhole to every peg and peg port, and just fitting a peg through that connection really secures it and creates a tight swivel that you wouldn't be able to pull apart easily, especially if you add a bit of super glue to the end of the pin before inserting it into the peg. I love the classic Perceptor colours as well. I've added pigment to my white resin to create these shades, and I have to be careful not to add too much or else the print doesn't come out as strong or it won't print properly. Now he's back in robot mode. Here's a fun little thing that I forgot to mention. With some spare parts, I assembled a new arm for Perceptor and added a 5mm peg connection into the shoulder port so he can hold his own arm. I like to tuck his actual arm back in ultimate configuration instead of pulling it off, as it keeps the parts nicer and will make them last longer. I also made him a Season 3 head, which I would have on if I hadn't planned on adding him to my Lost Light collection. Overall, I love the character and I'm very proud of this project. I hope I captured the feel and attitude of the character. I really want to complete the early Cyberverse Season 3 team, which had Stealth Mode, Hot Rod, Clobber, Perceptor, Whirl and Dead End. Those 5 were so fun to watch, maybe even add Soundwave in there as well. But One Step Whirl is so elusive, he's actually become a grail to me. I might try to make one myself, a Cyberverse Whirl. Anyway, that was Perceptor. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Stay safe and goodbye.